I feel strongly at this stage of my life, Neil, when you're unsure if you should like put that post on social media or if you should put that in your book, you probably should. Because that's the stuff that's real, man.
Right,
And
right,
that's the tension. Like, how much of myself do I reveal? It's like, screw it. I'm already naked. What the hell?
right. Law school taught you the law, but it didn't teach you this, how to connect. Be that one lawyer who shows up different, the one clients trust, the one they never forget. I'm Neal Goldstein, and this is That One Lawyer Podcast. Let's get started. Today's guest built a personal injury practice that puts people first and backs it up with systems that actually work. Chris Earley is the founder of the Earley Law Group Injury Lawyers, a columnist who teaches lawyers how to run better firms, the author of Scaling the Wall, and the host of The Early Show. He is candid about the hard parts of his life and how facing them made him a better lawyer, leader, and dad. Chris, welcome to That One Lawyer Podcast.
It's so good to be here. What a warm welcome. Oh my God, Neil. Hope I can live up to that. Jeez, that's a lot.
I'm sure you're going to be able to live up to that. And I have to tell everybody kind of how we got together, just
Yeah.
so they have some idea. Chris and I met because I think Chris was in the middle of writing his book, Scaling the Wall. And we're going to get into that book because there's so much in there that, quite frankly, parallels my own story, but is just so inspiring to hear. And especially for all the people that are watching this, many of them lawyers, many of them younger lawyers, it's really good to hear stories like the one that Chris wrote about his life story. So, Chris, why don't we get right into it? And can you give everybody some basic idea of your backstory, and then I'll try to surgically take it apart.
Well, you have been very influential for me because if you didn't write your book, Who's in the Waiting Room, I don't think I would have written my book, to be completely blunt
Wow.
and real with you right here. Because as I've mentioned before to you and others, I didn't even know who you were. John Fisher mentioned that, hey, this guy Neal Goldstein out of Long Island, he's a PI lawyer, put a story out. I'm like, interesting. And so I bought the book and I read it. I'm like, okay, I got to start my book. So that was the impetus. And Neil, about 3 hours ago, I was at a radio station talking about my book. That the fact that you wrote your book really was good for my life. So I appreciate that because literally it changed a lot of things in my life for the good, for
Yeah.
the better. So it's been
Sure.
game
And
changing. So I want you to know that, man.
well,
Seriously.
thank you very much. It's good to know that.
Yeah.
But I want people to hear a bit about your
No,
backstory.
I
So can
appreciate
you
it.
give us a little bit, and then wherever you start, wherever you're comfortable, and I know you're comfortable with just about everything.
Oh, yeah.
So why don't you start a little bit, and then we'll kind of segue
Sure.
into it,
Yeah, sure.
after that.
Yeah. So I come from, there's no, dad and mom are definitely not lawyers. Never knew lawyers growing up. They were just way out of my league. I wouldn't contemplate ever becoming an attorney because it just was beyond my scope of abilities. And I grew up around a lot of heavy addiction. I saw my father homeless and perish in the streets of Midtown Manhattan. I've seen devastation. I've seen a lot of things that have traumatized me. And so fast forward, I started getting serious and I was kind of a clown for a while, Neil, but in high school I kind of locked in and got serious about academics and noticed that I don't mind working my ass off in school. And so that was good. And so that got me to law school. And then when I got to law school, I couldn't get a job. So I hung a shingle. And so I'm like 27, 28, and I met my wife when I was around 31. And my book, Scaling the Wall, talks about my 30s, which is when I realized through my wife's putting a mirror in front of my face that, like, dude, you got problems. You haven't addressed them. And Neil, I think all the listeners can identify that. Sometimes we don't know what's getting in our way. I was like an expert at getting my own way because I had all this anger. Like I would want to start fights, Neil, and like just push your buttons because I was angry and mad. And so I didn't even know the extent of that until I met my wife, who was very transparent. She comes from a family. She's an adult child of an alcoholic as well, so she spoke my language. I could open up to her and get real with her, and so she really did a lot to get me honest. And then in my 30s, I started getting into therapy and worked on healing. Now I'm in my 40s, no, I'm privileged, Neil, to be able to talk to other lawyers, have conversations like this, write a book, because like I'm totally exposed, like I'm totally vulnerable. Like my story is so ugly in many ways, and that's what I think people are attracted to, is just kind of gritty and real. So that's me in a nutshell.
You know, one of the parallels between our stories is our fathers.
Yeah.
And fathers that were truly not the fathers that we really needed, especially in our early years. The difference, though, if I can draw some difference, and I'm bringing this up for a point, is that your dad, yeah, he had his addictions, and he was an absent father, but you still had some relationship with him, even though you didn't see him for long periods of time. You managed to have some kind of connection with him over the years. Isn't that correct?
We never had the opportunity, Neil, because he perished. He left the house when I was about 7. But in scaling the wall, my memoir, I talk about these sort of fictional conversations, which, although they weren't actually in the real world, they were
Right.
just sort of like what I was experiencing at the time in my 30s, like kind of like having these discussions, or just these thoughts of like, shit, I can't mess up because my dad lost. I can't do that. I can't go there. Okay. So I had like enough common sense to avoid going off the cliff like he did. Because when you go off the cliff, it's too late. There's no way
But
to get out.
but in your conversations that you had with your dad, which I thought was really cool the way
Oh,
you
thank
wrote
you.
that. Really, really cool. There clearly was this need to have this relationship with him. So you had these ongoing conversations
Yes.
with him. With me,
Yeah.
my father just left. The first time I think he left when I was 12. And the next time I saw him like a few months after that. And then it wasn't for like 35 years. And I had such anger against him. And I remember I was going out with a girl, and I remember her mother was so impressed with me, and she said, "Wow, it really hasn't affected you. You seem to be, this really nice guy, and all this stuff." And I endorsed that. I said, "Yeah, I'm okay." The truth is, I was never okay.
Right.
The truth is, as we're sitting here today, Chris, and I'm sure you would agree with this, I'm still effed up
Of course.
because of what happened. I guess the idea is that you try to grab a handle on it and manage it, but it never goes away, right?
I can't agree more with you. You're speaking my language. Like I look at that, Neil, myself, like I was fooling people, like everything's normal. Nothing to see here. Like it's all good.
Right.
No,
Right.
there was a big fat elephant in the room. Like you cannot escape seeing that elephant. And I had relationships, friends, girlfriends, never even shared my stuff because it was almost like it's almost like denial, like it didn't even happen. Like it's
Right.
normal.
Right.
And
Right.
then when you reckon with reality and you hit your 30s, you're a true adult, doing adult things. It's like shit, maybe I
Right.
have some issues from back then. I wasn't even
Right.
aware of. Then you get deeper into therapy, and then you start meditating perhaps, and you get a little more self-aware. So I wasn't very self-aware for a long time.
Yeah, and your book, you don't hold anything back. You talk about your marriage, how it was in trouble at some point because of the traits that you exhibited. I urge everybody to read the book. It's just fantastic. And then you talk about the therapists, which were on and off, on and off, on and off. I understand part of that. I mean, I was in therapy for 25 years, and it was a process, man, and a real long
Yeah.
process. And so I guess the question that I have is, what part of that journey that you lived, now you can look back, as Steve Jobs has said, now you can connect the dots. What part of that early journey made you the man that you are today, the lawyer that you are today, the father that you are today, the husband that you are today?
That's a really good question. I think luck. We can look at our plot in life as misfortune or fortune. I think all that stuff I had to go through is fortune, because now my kids get a father who's around, who's not, homeless, like who dad who's like hyper present. And so I think I somehow had enough common sense to get into therapy before I lost it all, to be again self-aware enough, or like the beginning stages of becoming self-aware in my 30s. I'm 48 now. This is, years ago. But just we're born with certain things. And I think I was born with like a common sense. And I also was blessed with the experience of seeing misfortune and saying, oh no, I cannot. And that really made me put my head down, Neil, in school, and just like almost like work obsessively, really hard work to get as far away from that potential situation as possible. So I think I was just lucky to be born with a little bit of common sense, like, okay, we're not going to screw it up. But again, I think it's like how you look at things. Like a lot of people go through what I did, and it's like, they get hooked on drugs, and they medicate, maybe through booze, and that's probably the norm for people that, adult children are alcoholics. Frankly, there's just a lot of undoing that has to. There's a lot of unraveling that has to happen in order to be healthy. But I'm like totally blessed, man. Like I'm the luckiest guy ever. To not have lost it when probably at the stat showed I should have lost it at some point, not gotten to the stage today.
You know, many years ago, maybe it was like, I don't know, 10 years ago, I was at a mastermind group and the guy that ran it, and he talked about force multipliers.
Mm.
And I think I may have brought this up to you when we first met at dinner in Mass. And I said, you know what? Having gone through the experience that you've gone through, or I've gone through, or many other people have gone through, it's a force multiplier for being, particularly the personal injury lawyer that you are, being the dad that you are, the husband that you are, the role model.
Mm.
Because, and I'm not taking away from people that had a good early life.
Hmm.
You could still be that person,
Yes.
but there's something about going through the journey that you went through or I went through that gives us that extra oomph when we're dealing with people in those roles. Would
100%.
you agree with that?
That's a decided advantage we have, Neil, right? That again, it's how you look at things. Like a lot of people can
Right.
say, "Well, yeah, but what about this, Neil? What about that, Chris?" Like, hell no, force multiplier on steroids, as far as I'm concerned.
Correct. Great.
Right? Just
I'm
like
glad.
fire under your ass. Like I read your book. I mean, your story is insane. Like you weren't going anywhere and then you shut up like a cannon. That's not normal. Like that doesn't happen to people. So like you and I both are blessed with enough common sense to realize like we have potential here. We're not going to blow it because it's too precious to throw away.
And I'm not sure. I think you recommended. I think it was Angela Duckworth. Grit.
Yeah, fans. Yeah, I
Grit.
speak that language, man. Oof.
Yeah, exactly. It's a great book,
Yeah,
and I got the book after you mentioned it, and I read parts of it. I couldn't get through all of it yet, but
it's a big book. Yeah.
absolutely, we lived that. We lived that.
Right,
It
right.
was it in the back of my mind when I was going through the journey and transitioning to the person that I turned out to be. I always thought about, I'm going to show them. I'm going to show them that I could do this because so many people had their doubts about
Same.
me, understandably, right?
Totally, totally.
And I'm sure you felt the same way. I met people who I haven't seen in 45 years. They cannot believe where I am, who I am, and that's a great feeling. And I'm sure you've had the same experiences.
1,000%, 1,001%. I went to a high school reunion years ago. Or sorry, it was elementary school reunion actually. And we got together and this girl I went to school with, I was a train wreck in elementary school. I was just a punk. My dad was
Right,
losing his everything on the streets of New York City. If they were full of shame, getting into fist fights all the time. And I was
right,
just a punk. And she saw me. She said, "Seeing you are now, I'd like to." She was a teacher and is a teacher. I like
right,
to put her in my class as an example of how to be successful, like of the right way to do
right.
it. Like, holy smokes, like that's really humbling. But what you just said before, what I think about, I don't know if you relate to this, is kind of a chip on my shoulder, and I can't deny that. A little bit of like, I'm going to show you, and a little bit of anger. You know,
Right,
sometimes anger can be an okay thing if it's harnessed in a good,
right,
healthy way.
right,
Like
right,
healthy
right,
anger. Again, I call it
right.
like fire under your butt to just crush it. But I hear what you're saying about that. Okay, well, I'll show you. Because you had to beat the odds. I had to beat the odds. Like there's no other way around. You had to be kind of chippy to get through.
100%. And you're right. If you can harness it and direct it and channel it the right way. I'll
Totally.
give you an example. When I used to go to court, regularly, uh, and I would argue emotion, and I really believed in what I was doing, I would get emotional
Mm,
for the purposes of trying to show the judge that this is really important, this is really meaningful. And I can't tell you how many times a judge would look at me and say, "Counselor, it's okay. You could he
yeah.
said it nicely. You could calm down." But that's part of who I am, and
Yeah.
that's why I chose the area of law that I chose.
Well, I bet that judge on a human or judges on a human level were like, holy smokes, like this is different. Like that. How could a human being not, how would that not resonate? Even with a judge, they just have robes on. It's not like a big
Right,
deal,
right,
just
right,
people. But that
right,
is a way
right,
for, I'm sure those judges are profoundly impacted by that, by the way. That's
right.
what I'm thinking. So,
Yeah.
but you wear your heart on your sleeve, because and I do too. And you're vulnerable. I'm vulnerable. It's like, is there any other way to do it? Like, we have one turn on this earth. It's like, I can be freaking real. And,
Right.
but the real, it's like compound interest, Neil. The realer you get, the realer you get. Then you write a book about, now you wrote a second book, right? You're doubling down about,
But but
the
you know, stick.
success, you've had and
But
continue to build.
what you've done in your book is something that is foreign as far as I'm concerned. Even in today's world, where everybody tries to be authentic, the word is getting abused already. Even though I started talking about it like 10 years ago,
Yeah.
but now all of a sudden everybody is using it. I won't mention names, but people are on Instagram. Oh, you got to be authentic. Meanwhile, they're walking around with their Gucci bags and and all this other stuff. Okay, I have nothing against Gucci, but kind of doesn't align right for me. But my point is, you're so vulnerable in that book. You've shared so much. And I don't know about you, but when I was writing my book, there were moments I said, should I put this in the book?
All the time.
It, and there were moments I said, these were the most troubling moments when I said, I don't want to know if I want the world to know that I did this. And then, I gave it some real pause, maybe like months.
Yeah.
And then I said, you know what? If I'm going to be true to the book, then I have to reveal that. And so I saw the same thing in your book. When I was reading your book, I said, all right, where's the screenplay? I mean, this is a really, this is, you showed everything, man. You bared yourself, you were stripped.
You have to be to get real, because people can sniff that out. People can sniff out the inauthenticity if that's what they're seeing. And I relate to what you're saying about, should I put this in? I feel strongly at this stage of my life, Neil, when you're unsure if you should like put that post on social media or if you should put that in your book, you probably should. Because that's the stuff that's real, man.
Right,
And
right,
that's the tension. Like, how much of myself do I reveal? It's like, screw it. I'm already naked. What the hell?
right, right,
What more
right,
is that
right,
going to
right,
do? Right.
right,
So if
right.
people, I'm very heavy on LinkedIn. I post all the time and I'm real.
Yes.
Most of the time it's like, oh, should I click send or, post
Right,
it?
right, right.
Screw it. And then what happens? It's like people are like reacting,
Yeah.
because no one is, or few, and very few I think are really real. And I'm trying to, get realer and realer. It's an ongoing thing of being your true authentic self. It's a journey for me.
100%. I don't know, maybe you could tell me, what's your thought on why our profession in particular, or maybe just because I'm in the middle of it, so I see it more than anybody, or just as much as other lawyers, there seems to be this inability to truly bare yourself
Oh yeah.
because nobody wants to be vulnerable. Nobody wants to say, hey, I almost failed my first semester too. I failed the bar 3 times. Why, or even worse than that, why do so many lawyers feel like they'd have to pound their chest constantly?
I think that's the way it's always been done. That's
Yeah.
like the convention,
Yeah.
right? Is like, we don't, get up in front of a judge and show emotion, right? That's not how we do things. It's like just so almost like primitive, frankly. And
What
so,
the,
it's crazy.
Yeah, you're 100% right. But the confusing part of that is that those that do show, like you, like me, that are able to show themselves, you gain tremendous credibility,
100%.
tremendous respect. Clients want to come to you, even if they don't know if you're a good lawyer. They want to come to you because Chris is a great guy. Look what he's done in his life. So you would think that would launch a whole bunch of lawyers to say, hey, maybe this is the right thing to do. But still we're in the minority, and I really believe that.
I agree 100%. I think so what I do, I send my book to clients so they know who they're getting. A guy with
Right,
some issues who's a
right,
work in progress. I'm not,
right,
you go to Ivy League freaking law school here, like,
right, right, right,
hell no, waitlist central for me, right? But just
right,
got
right,
through. So, but that's what we talk about authenticity, but like, I think when you're authentic, you don't want to attract everyone to your tribe or
right.
your law firm. Like, you should be repelling a lot of people who aren't true believers in Neal Goldstein or Chris Earley. Like, I just want people who are down with me, man, because they will be the best clients. They'll refer 1,001 people to me because they're with me. So this isn't like a vanity game. People, post on social. It's like, pounding their chest. Like, why don't people react to that stuff? Because it's not helpful. It's not giving value. I think you give value when you share your story. You gave value to me when you shared your story because I freaking wrote a book in response. So Yeah, I think this very stuffy profession. So it's kind of like low hanging fruit, Neil. If you're just yourself, you're gonna freaking stand out. Tell your story, you're gonna really stand out.
Right, because I mean nobody knows your story better than you, so you certainly can say it with a with a great deal of credibility, and you're and that's clearly who you are. You spoke about the fact that you give these to new clients, which makes a lot of sense. Tell me how the person you are has integrated with the law firm that you created. Let's start early on. Was that an easy transition for you? Was there any difficulties, challenges?
Do you mean as I would kind of evolve a little bit more or initially?
Yeah.
Yeah, I try to be like a servant leader, and really serve my team. So a lot of them left jobs to come work for Early. So I got to make sure I want them to know that I do things like I pull them all the time. Like, how am I doing? How's our morale? Like just trying to show them I care, and just trying to be a decent leader, who teaches them as the few things that I know, but I try to pour into them. But yeah, I was a very myopic, narrow-minded leader back in the day. I had a very small team. Now it's grown, and so it's a lot more like going to mention masterminds, going to masterminds, learning how to lead better. That's a hard thing to do. Is to lead a football team right down the field. Like that's really hard because the wide receiver is over here and you got your offense, like everyone, it's tricky stuff. But I put my book everywhere on LinkedIn, everywhere, Neil, because I want prospective team members to see. Oh yeah, I don't want to work for that guy. No, he's got some trouble. He's got some issues. So good. It wouldn't have been a good situation. I want to attract that team members. Like, oh man, like my cousin was an alcoholic. Interesting. Let me check this guy out. I want affinity with clients. That's how we give the book out. Affinity with
Right.
team members. So we have really a really decent relationship. And I don't know about you, I give my book out obsessively. After our call,
Right.
I'm going to the post office. I'm mailing like 20 books out. Like I,
Right.
I do it like a insane person because you do all that work. You want to get it opened and read because I think at some point a door's gonna open where I can get in front of some kids, who grew up around addiction and are having trouble. Like that's my ideal audience. And what's gonna happen, Neil, from me and you writing your books, you get business. Like there's obviously a financial benefit because people are gonna come to you because you're different, but you're also able to impact. And I think that's just like freaking cool.
I remember one of the most meaningful cases I had was a young middle school kid that was being bullied horrifically. Not
Hmm.
just like, not just called, an asshole or, something like that. This is a kid that was beaten up, thrown to the ground, poked with pencils, punched constantly every day, wound up having an infection in his bladder because some kids punched him
Holy
and
smokes.
he was horrible situation,
Mm.
and it ended up that he had a plan to end it all, and it was going to be on Christmas Day, and he was going to do it with his father's necktie.
Oh my goodness.
Fortunately, that did not happen.
Hmm.
And I remember when he first came into the office, into the conference room, this is before my book, and I tried talking to him because even if you're coming in with your parents, I try to talk to the kid all the time. And of course, I started relating, not because we had the same story, but because we had a story, because we had a challenge, each of us. And when he walked in, he had his hands folded against his chest, wouldn't look me straight in the eye. And at some point, at the right moment, when I thought it was the right moment, I injected a part of my story to him. And you could see all of a sudden, the hands came off the chest.
Right.
He he moved his chair a little bit closer to me. I'm not saying, you know, that was the end all
Yeah.
treatment for this kid. This kid, by the way, he wound up going into the Air Force,
Wow.
and we settled his case. We did the right thing for him.
Wow.
My point in saying that, I'm sure you've done this also, and I'm just picking up from what you just said. There's a moment in time when you see your clients who are going through difficulties, maybe similar to yours, maybe not. I think it's okay to share a bit of your story with them so that they can feel even more connected and feel like, hey, this is a guy that I can really trust and who really knows who I am.
I almost like you have a duty in my mind. You have a duty to share about like who you are. But that story is a nice story because that's a story of connection. That
Right.
kid loosened up. It was like, oh, this guy's not who I thought he was. I had a client. I think about this guy. Frequently. He was he came into my office to pick up his check. and I do a email newsletter to my clients every week, and it was a picture of me
Right.
and my family. We're at
Right.
Disney in a pool, and I was like chilling in a pool.
Right. Right.
He's
Right.
like, I didn't really appreciate your picture in the email. Like, I'm suffering with my accident. I'm really in pain, and you're just kind of chilling. I said, I understand. I appreciate that. Let me just share kind of who I am. Like, looks are deceiving. And in a 60-second snapshot, I told him about my story. And he was kind of like, oh, what is,
Right.
like that instant credibility? Like, this guy's not
Right.
just some
Right.
lawyer on a pedestal. This guy's on
Right.
my
Right.
level. Like,
Right.
the smart lawyers, and you know this better than anyone, get on the client's level. You got on that kid's level, right? You
Right.
have to, like, we talked about before, why are lawyers so stuffy and unrelated? Like, get on their freaking level and
Right.
just talk and
r-
connect with them and share. Even if your story isn't compelling, you and I have compelling stories, frankly. Even if your story maybe is pretty vanilla, share it. Okay.
Exactly.
Because there's some really good
Exactly.
stuff in your story. You should be sharing that stuff as much as you can, frankly.
We know somebody in common. I won't mention his name, who said to me, "I don't have that story, Neil. I grew up, my parents had money and they sent me to great schools and they were good people and all this and that." And I said, "Okay." And then at some point later in the conversation, he was talking about something, and I said, he started saying, "Well, I always feel like I have to like compete with my father who was a lawyer too." And I said, "Well, maybe that's your story, man. You know, that you
Right.
feel like your father's shadow is constantly there." And so, yeah, it doesn't have to be like falling off the cliff. And I saved myself with one pinky. It doesn't have to be that type of story, but share something so that clients see that you're a human being, so that you have vulnerabilities. So yeah, I'm with you 100%. You say in your book that you give your clients, what is it, 5-star service. So give us the playbook. What is that about?
Making them feel good from the jump.
Yeah, yeah,
Well, we're in the emotions business. So,
yeah.
if Neil becomes a client today, he may have buyer's regret. Did I choose early, is early the right guy for me? So I
Right.
instantly send you a nice package with my books so I can get on your level, right? And I can just sort of like connect with you. And just like the experience,
Mhm.
we poll clients all the time. How are we doing? Do you feel love,
Right.
care? I saw this from Angel Finkelstein in your state, New York. Or do you feel love, care, and concern from our team? How likely you're to refer to us. When I started doing that, the poll numbers were anemic. They were just, you know, gut wrenching. Then they started to go up. So just showing them you care and that you want to get better, right? But you need really good team members. You have to have good team to make the clients feel good. If they, it's not, this isn't the money business. It's the feeling business, right? That's what we're doing is making them feel valued. That's my obsession is making sure that they feel really good. And it's freaking hard to do. Like I don't know how to
Well,
figure it out. It's hard.
it's very hard, but because you are who you are, I think you somehow have been able to cultivate that in your office, because the truth is, and I'll say this again, and I won't backpedal on this, most lawyers, even in our personal injury world, don't do that. They don't do that. They're not vulnerable. They, you know, if I meet a new PI lawyer, within a half hour, he's telling me about his verdicts and his settlements. Why? Why is that necessary? You don't have to tell me about your wins. Why do you need to impress me, especially after a half hour? So no, it doesn't make any sense. So, can you give me like one system that really has helped you and freed you up as the quote CEO of your firm?
Okay, well, let me just backtrack. So what you just said, I thought was really important, right?
Yeah.
I thought of two words: transactional versus relational, right?
Right.
A lot of lawyers
Right.
were this is commerce. We're
Right.
transacting. No, no,
Right.
no, no, and no, you know this. Unfortunately, a lot of attorneys don't. This is you're in the relationship business. So I think that's really important. So what I've done to scale my firm has been a lot of things,
Right.
but it's me getting out of my own way. Like I had a good firm. It was me and an assistant, and it was a very, 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 very low seven-figure firm doing really well. Then decided to scale. And so that's been terrifically hard and challenging. But I think it was the pandemic and I was sitting in my man cave thinking like I want something more. People were pulling back. I wanted to put my chips in. I just had an appetite for more. So I think I've grown by being very intentional and focused, and I think my one of my best strengths, only strengths probably is time management. Like I don't I probably shouldn't be going to the post office to mail my books, but I kind of like find gratitude. I find purpose I like that process. But
Right.
I think the intentional lawyer who's looking to grow divests him or herself from as much as they possibly can. You have to let go to grow, right? So that has enabled me. And there's fits and starts. I've had team members just drop, multiple team members drop at the same time. That's been hard. But then I've had a cluster of good team members come on at the same time. So you kind of like, you keep itching up, like up the ladder, but it's tremendously hard. But I'm maniacally convinced, Neil, if you treat clients well, you treat your team well, you win, right? It's almost like too easy because there's so many lawyers, in PI, again, it's transactional. It's a lot of attorneys, this, abuse their staff, I can't imagine yelling at my staff. Like
Mhm.
I don't understand, but like most lawyers are good people, but there are some bad apples out there that just are probably gonna, go out of business at some point if they continue to do those types of things. But this is hard stuff. I'm a student just like you.
Yeah, we all fall into the trap of trying to run a business because it
Yeah.
is a
Oh
business,
yeah.
but also trying not to be transactional, if you will, or that shouldn't be the lead, for sure. And you want to, give people a feeling that this lawyer is different than all the others. Look, there have been multiple studies out there, multiple polls out there with for clients about what they find most frustrating about their lawyer or their ex-lawyer. And the answer is obvious. It's
Yeah.
communication.
Always.
There are actually some people who've said they've never met their lawyer. There are some people who have said, my lawyer calls me. I spoke to him last time 6 months ago, and to me, that's unheard of. I don't really get that.
Yeah, yeah. No, 100. So here's my brutally honest challenge is as I've grown, I used to shake everybody's hand. There
Right,
are, I've set it up where I can't meet all the clients, frankly, because
right, right,
but that's why I'm obsessed with the team doing it the early way.
right, right.
Because like I don't have all the answers, but we have mapped out a lot of successful systems here. So because they don't really care about having early, they just want a good result. That's what I talk about this all the time, Neil, is how can you figure out that client's problem faster and better than the guy down the street, gal down the block? Like that's what this is about. And when they go out, when they pick up their check, your percentage lawyer, divorce, or whatever the heck you're doing, make sure they feel really good when they walk out of your office because they're going to tell everyone, either you're a rock star or you suck.
A-
Or you're
And a- and here's the thing that most lawyers don't do after they after they hand their uh, client a settlement check, which is always a great day for
oh
everybody.
yeah.
But what is it that they don't do? Most lawyers, they don't maintain the relationship after that. So I know with me, and look, I understand you can't necessarily do it with everybody. I get it. But if you're not maintaining the dance, if you will, even after the settlement check is handed to them, what's the point?
No, I'm with you. I'm a big so we have so many clients that I wouldn't be able to do it personally. But I send you an
Right,
e-newsletter. Here's my daughter and I just went
right,
to Tate McRae last week. Here's how it went, right? Just like trying to show up because I'll be, obviously I want your referrals. Like we want to stay in touch with
right,
you. But like, I'm not, I'm not an ambulance chaser. Yeah, I have a family to support. I have a mortgage to pay. I gotta make money.
right,
But like we're not,
right,
sleazeballs. Like, we actually like we're
right,
decent
right,
people. And no matter how hard you try, Neil, you're gonna get nailed with a one-star review. And
right,
and and I get that, and I don't really care anymore. And I write about that a lot. Is like
right,
lawyers get so wrapped up, Neil. We're perfectionists. Who cares? You got a one-star review.
right.
Let me quickly just tell you this story. I get a one-star review from a client. He
Yeah,
was referring clients. And he leaves me a one star. I'm like, oh my god. I call him. I heard him. He had a adverse history that I related to, and I said,
right.
I speak your language. Like I'm not who you may think I am. And I explained a little bit about me. And I sent him my book. Right. So I think when he got there, he's like, okay, this cat's a little different. Right. I wrote about this on LinkedIn. A one-star review can be a wonderful opportunity to connect with someone, to grow your business, to figure out a system that's broken that 25
Mhm.
other people are mad about, but they haven't killed you on a one-star review. But like, I would encourage everyone, poll your clients, ask questions, poll your team. How are you as a leader? Like really get into that rhythm of checking in because you don't know, you and I know a lot of lawyers, we're all, we're in growth mode, but you got to make sure that things are tight.
So let me segue into something else because already I could see we've already spent 40 minutes together, or close to it. So you are a mainstay on LinkedIn. I mean, everybody knows you, and you've done so well by being constant and putting out really super content or really good stories.
Thank you, Neil.
And so, talk to me about how you walk the line, or as I've said to other people, how do you marry both digital and authenticity? Because on the one hand, digital moves us apart in some ways. It
Yeah.
kind of disconnects us into authenticity. Yet you're an authentic guy. So how do you put them together?
So I think LinkedIn is a wonderful opportunity, which I really lean heavily on. And so I've been posting every day, a lot of times, multiple times a day, like
Right,
literally for
right,
years. And so it's gotten me, you and I stay in touch. We text, we also stay in touch on LinkedIn, right? I do it with a lot of different people. It's so I put a post up yesterday, got I think 60,000 views. That was a free. It just
wow,
totally free, right? And that was 24 hours ago. So the lawyer now has ability to reach so many people, but I don't really do it differently, like digital or real world, or analog, non-digital. I just try to like put my stuff out there. Like the way I talk to you on LinkedIn is the way I talk to you for having a beer, right?
right,
Like,
right,
and that's, I think, what the practitioner has to really focus on. Like when you're writing content, like make it conversational. You're just talking to one person, literally.
right,
That's how
right.
I would suggest people to write in that tone, because obviously it's going to many different people. But this stuff is hard, man. I mean, we try to stay in touch with our clients. We do newsletter, we e-newsletters, paper
Right.
newsletters,
Right. Right.
um, stuff like
Oh,
that.
well,
It's tricky.
what you also do, which I've seen, and I effing love it, is you actually have parties and you invite your clients.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you invite every client. I get it. I get it. But I'm just saying there are clients that come to your parties. That's
Yes.
amazing.
Well, I gotta be real with you. We had one, and it wasn't like the biggest showing. Now, I fall on that sword because I didn't keep doing it. I encouraged the lawyer, keep doing those parties. I had too many irons in the fire. I couldn't. But
I thought it was a great idea,
well,
and
I
I think
feel that from other people, and that it is a good idea if you keep your foot on the gas. I know
right,
lawyers, Neil, they have 5 people show up like I did. Next time, 15. Next time, 35, 100.
right,
It's just
right,
it's an
right.
investment that compounds. So definitely encourage. This can be very inexpensive, super inexpensive. No, but I'll be honest with you, I did it once. I didn't have a good. Uh, I had more team members there than clients, but frankly, that's the way these things start. From all my discussions with my peers. Um,
Right. And so I know you also have a successful podcast, The Early Show. What is a pattern you see among firms that scale without losing who they are?
Yeah, you've been on my podcast, which is we had an awesome conversation. So it's nice to be the one interviewed instead of being the interviewer.
Right,
By the way,
right.
I think so. My focus on that podcast is for entrepreneurial lawyers who are in growth mode. I've had John Morgan. I have had Mike. We just had Cameron Harold 2 weeks ago. He wrote
Mhm.
so we've had some big dogs, and they all have problems. Like everyone has problems. Like the bigger you get, I think the bigger problems can get, right? And so the most successful people I have interviewed, and you're included in this, the most successful have been through hard stuff, adversity, like hard stuff. I've never had a and I like to bring on the best on my podcast. I've ever had someone come on and just have like an easy life. Oh yeah, now I'm a successful lawyer. No, they had to like
Right, right,
shovel
right,
shit for a
right,
long time. So the
right.
practitioner who perseveres, who does the daily reps in the gym of doing things they don't want to do, will surpass those who are lazy and give up. Like you wrote a book, right? So most people never 95% of books never get finished. You were probably questioning yourself, is this worth it? Driving yourself crazy, at times crying. I'm sure I cried writing my book, but you finished it. And I have a poster behind you right now. You have this work. I have my book right here. This work. So you don't have to write a book. You don't do anything, but just whatever you do, like outwork others, get through hard things. And I think it's worthy of the effort.
Yeah, and let me go back to what you just said. What's one problem that you still are struggling with?
Where do I start, Neil? I'll be
That's
brutally.
another hour.
I'm gonna be real with you here. I need to be a better husband because I focus so much on being the dad that I didn't have. That my wife is sometimes like, "Hey, I'm over here too," So I'm so like obsessed with like not of being the dad I didn't have and showing up and go to the games, but I gotta like remember my wife sometimes. So that I have not been good at, and she's very very expert at putting that mirror in front of my face as she has from day one,
Yeah,
from
yeah,
my 30s on.
yes, yep.
There needs to work in that
Well,
department, to be honest.
you're well. First of all, again, as everybody could now see, this guy is real. He's vulnerable. He tells you all the stuff,
I
man.
don't care, Neil.
He is not he's not shoveling bullshit here. He's telling the real deal. I mean, I hear you. I understand that because none of us are perfect, and that's the truth. You're willing to tell us where the imperfections may be, and by the way, your wife sounds like an absolute angel. Just
100%.
from reading that book, she is uh,
See,
just a wonderful, wonderful person. And I'm sure that, you and your children and your family, you have a very unique situation in that, your difficulties and your challenges as a youngster really are going to benefit your family.
that's well said. I'm with you, man. That's very
And
you're
yeah,
spot on. I'm grateful.
uh, well, you have to be very grateful. We talk about gratitude all the time here, and I have to tell you, every time I wake up in the morning, I have my eyes open, or when I put my foot down, I'm thrilled that I'm here.
I I
And
I gotta be
yeah,
honest. I struggle with gratitude because I'm always, like I want more and more and more. But I'm like, no, 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 no. Come on, man. You gotta be like, look at all you have. So I work on that. That's hard sometimes as you strive
listen,
to appreciate what you have
I,
today.
I fall for that too.
Yeah, yeah,
I really do,
yeah.
Chris. And I'm a lot older than you, and I fall for that. And I always have to say to myself, where did I start from?
Mm.
And when I look at where I started from and where I am today, without looking to my right or to my left,
Yes.
just look at yourself. Stay
Yeah.
focused, man, and look at the tremendous success from where you were. If you keep on looking for another another barrier to cross, it's a never-ending race.
I know. It's unfulfilling. I'm really trying to just like be present now, appreciate everything. And that's something I struggle with, because a lot of attorneys on this call were super ambitious, super driven, motivated. Be grateful. The irony is the more grateful you are, the more you get. The universe says, "Oh, this guy appreciates it. Let's give him some more."
Right,
Right?
right, right, right,
Health
right.
or,
No,
love, wealth, whatever, you're seeking, you will get to the degree to which you're grateful for what you have today. I believe that.
yeah. What are you finding as we start to wind it down? What are you finding is the most difficult thing you're seeing with lawyers today? So I know that, for example, burnout is a big deal with lawyers. Better than 75% of lawyers, if you ask them, "Have you or are you burnt out?" they'll say yes. So do you think that's an issue, or is there another issue? I know you talk about mental health issues, which I agree with 100%. Talk to me about what you think we need to focus on with lawyers today, besides being authentic.
Honestly, man, I think time management, because when you don't manage your time well, you get
Yeah.
stretched so
Yeah.
thin. You could be on a you could do a client call in 15 minutes. It doesn't have to be 45 minutes all the time. Like some things you can be quick. You don't need to be on your email all day. I have someone checking my email for me. I don't want to do email, Neil. I really think that's a nefarious, evil thing that
Yeah.
lawyers are not sensitive to. And then they miss Johnny's game on Saturday because I got to go into the office.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like they didn't
Sure.
lock in enough during the week, and that's me. I've tried to be a student of time management because when I work less, I think I do better and I have more time for my
Right.
family.
Yeah. 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 I mean, that I have to say that's probably my weak point, and
It's
is that
hard.
I can't manage it. And quite honestly, like I've pivoted, so it's like I don't even have the day that I used to have. It's a lot easier, and I still have time. I still have time management issues, and that's why Jennifer's there because she really helps. So we have three questions that we ask everybody
Okay.
as we end our conversation, and really the conversation could go on a lot longer.
Absolutely.
So, what would you tell your younger self if you could? What advice would you give to your younger self?
Well, I give my young kids all this all the time. Think really big. Think really big. Have wide lenses on, like really wide glasses that you can get so much stuff done. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. I think you and I are living proof of that. So think real freaking big.
Is there one thing that you would tell a young lawyer to do that would help them stand out as being that one lawyer that people will remember? What would you tell them to do?
Be authentic. I think it doesn't cost you a dollar. I wish I did that, but I didn't. So I would encourage that newly minted lawyer, the lawyer 5, 7 years out, be yourself, be relatable, like get real with your clients. It's a proven way to connect and have a better, healthier career. You will thrive the more you are honest and vulnerable with people.
Yeah. And finally, is there somebody that you've lost, a family member, a friend, or a mentor, that if you had another chance to say something to that person, what would you say?
I would say to my dad, I hope I made you proud of what I've accomplished with what I was started, what I started with. I hope I was able to do what you couldn't do, and I hope you're proud of that.
Right, right. That's great. That's great. Well, Chris, tell everybody how they can connect with you, either if they're looking for a lawyer in your area or they want to read your book, or maybe they just maybe there's a young lawyer that maybe just wants to chat with you.
Oh,
What's the best way to connect?
I would call my cell. I'm all over the internet. I'm easy to find, but I'd love to have a conversation with you. Call my cell. It's 617-956-2501, 617-956-2501. Call me. Let's have a conversation. If you're a lawyer, non-lawyer, hopefully we can, connect and see where that takes us. But I love Neal talking to lawyers. I love talking to
Yes.
younger lawyers because they're so impressionable, and I feel it's important to help them. Because one last thing I want to say is you got to get a mentor. I think that's really important. I didn't do that. I tell younger lawyers, get a coach, get a mentor to help usher you onto the best career you can possibly have. I wish I did that, but I didn't ask for help. So younger lawyers
Well,
can do very well
well,
by asking for help.
well, you did pretty good without it. So
Thanks.
good for you. And thanks for being on the show, Chris. I
Thank
really
you, Neal.
appreciate it.
Appreciate you.
You have a wonderful story. You're a really great lawyer and an even better, which is more important. You're
You're
even a
awesome.
better
You're
human
great.
being.
I appreciate you so much, Neal. Thank you for all you've done for me and inspiring me. I appreciate you so much.
If something here hits home for you, don't keep it to yourself. Tap subscribe, drop a comment, and share this with a lawyer who needs to really hear it. This is That One Lawyer Podcast. See you next time.